However, in the hands of Xun'er, when the Annihilation and Demon Transformation fingers are used, their power is astonishing. Even those at the peak of the Ascendant stage can be effortlessly killed by them. The primary reason for this is not just his cultivation level, but more importantly, the essence of these two techniques. These three killing techniques were created by Xun'er himself. Since he follows the demonic path, these techniques naturally carry a demonic aura. Without a heart of demonhood, it is impossible to fully grasp their essence. Wang Lin's path is markedly different from Xun'er's. As a result, when he uses the Annihilation and Demon Transformation fingers, there is a certain lack of fluidity and variation compared to Xun'er. In fact, there are further techniques derived from these two fingers. Xun'er never taught all of them to Wang Lin because he realized that, over time, these techniques could subtly alter Wang Lin's path. It wasn't that Xun'er was stingy. Rather, he understood that if Wang Lin learned the full set of techniques, his Dao heart could eventually be swayed and lead him down the demonic path. The final technique in the three killing moves is the Netherworld Finger. Its power far surpasses the other two techniques, almost reaching the pinnacle, bordering on a low-tier immortal technique. When Xun'er first taught this technique, he hesitated. His hesitation stemmed from the fact that this technique not only had the power to threaten even ascendant cultivators, but also, if used too frequently, could gradually affect Wang Lin's Dao heart, pushing him further into the demonic path. Unlike the first two moves, the Netherworld Finger has no subsequent techniques. All its power is concentrated in this one finger. If Wang Lin used it too often, it could corrupt his heart and Dao. Xun'er had explained this in detail to Wang Lin, so over the years, Wang Lin had only used this ultimate move once, during his battle with the sixth purple disciple, a mid-ascendant cultivator, Chen Tao. If any of these techniques could be called a real killing move, it was the final one. The 10 collapses fist intent of the left-wing demon general was born from the void and merged with the heavens. It was formless, a peak manifestation of the left-wing demon general's essence, spirit, and energy. This fist strike, though striking the void, could shatter space itself and kill without leaving a trace. As Wang Lin's right-hand index finger extended, his immortal power began to reverse wildly. In an instant, it transformed into vast demonic aura, gathering at the tip of his finger. His finger was now entirely enveloped in a black radiance, one that not even the sun could penetrate. This blackness was pure demonization. When Wang Lin's finger touched the void, he immediately sensed the overwhelming fist intent within the void. In that moment, the first collapse arrived. It was as though the entire world was collapsing. Centered on Wang Lin, the heavens themselves crumbled. A force of devastation, like a catastrophe, slammed into Wang Lin from all directions. His right hand flashed with black light, and the speed at which his immortal power reversed reached an astonishing level. Suddenly, the black light on his right index finger spread, enveloping his entire body in the blink of an eye. A thunderous roar echoed across the entire ancient demon city. Wang Lin's face turned pale as he staggered backward a few steps, barely steadying himself. His right index finger trembled slightly, numb from the force. The overwhelming power that had hit him retreated like a tidal wave, only to return with a force 10 times greater than before, swirling out from the void. The second collapse arrived. The second collapse was even faster than the first, striking from all directions almost instantaneously. Wang Lin's right index finger still trembled. The demon transformation finger's power could only help him resist the first collapse. This is no technique that an infant metamorphosis cultivator should be able to use. A technique of this power can only be grasped by 1 or 2 out of 10 ascendant cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes flickered with an unusual light. The power of the second collapse was 10 times greater than the first. Within a 1,000-meter radius, the void turned dark, as though it were filled with a sandstorm, even pulling at the swirling vortex above the palace. Wang Lin growled lowly, and 2 trails of gray energy, like 2 azure dragons, rapidly circled around his right hand. Without hesitation, he unleashed the Slaughter Immortal Art. As the 2 azure dragons roared, they surged forward, carrying a terrifying shockwave that instantly tore through the void. But at that moment, the dragons collided with the force of the second collapse. The power of the second collapse was overwhelming. Amidst the deafening crashes, the dragons didn't shatter. Instead, they turned into wisps of gray energy, forming a gray vortex. The center of this vortex was Wang Lin. The second collapse's power fell onto the gray vortex, immediately weakening. At the same time, a murderous aura began to surge from the vortex, spreading outward. The aura of slaughter was incredibly intense, carrying with it a domineering aura capable of destroying immortals and slaying demons. With it, it forced a bloody path through the power of the second collapse, breaking open a gap. With an overwhelming will to slaughter, it fiercely repelled the second collapse's fist intent. Wang Lin stepped forward, his body shooting out like a comet, instantly breaking free from his position. At the same time, he reached out with his right hand, and the whirlpool of gray mist trembled and vanished, transforming into two intertwined strands of gray mist, which suddenly appeared in his right hand. "Condense!" Wang Lin shouted in a low voice, and the two intertwining strands of gray mist immediately solidified into a 7-foot-long sword, glowing with endless gray light. The moment the sword was in Wang Lin's hand, an astonishing aura of slaughter surged around him. At this moment, Wang Lin seemed to have become a different person. No longer did he have any traces of celestial grace. All that remained was the aura of slaughter. He now resembled a slaughter demon god, holding the sword of slaughter, charging forward like a whirlwind, breaking the void and heading straight toward the left-wing demon general in the distance. The left-wing demon general let out a slight and his eyes gleamed with a sharp light as he laughed loudly. "Good. You are one of the few to strike back under my 10 collapses fist intent. Let's see if you can break through the remaining 8 collapses and come to face me." Meanwhile, the woman in white, Yoshishue, the blood ancestor's daughter, frowned slightly. 3 years ago, when she first came to the ancient demon city, she was defeated under this 10 collapses fist intent. This divine technique was extremely overbearing, and the further it went, the harder it was to resist. With her cultivation, she was already at a disadvantage during the 4th collapse, and if not for using the blood art passed down by her father, she likely wouldn't have survived the 5th collapse. Even so, she was forced to retreat under the 8th collapse. The left-wing demon general, seeing her struggle, granted her the title of commander. In the ancient demon city, the title of commander was second only to the demon generals, and there were only 4 such commanders in the entire city. As for the other commanders, there were 16 in total. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with a murderous light. One person, one sword, breaking the void, charging directly at the left-wing demon general. However, between him and the left-wing demon general stood the 8 collapses, and the 3rd collapse erupted with 10 times the power of the 2nd collapse. It silently and invisibly spread from all directions, as if countless towering peaks were crashing down upon him, the weight pressing in on Wang Lin. A faint red glow appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. The murderous aura was thick. Facing the 3rd collapse, he showed no signs of fear. Instead, a battle intent flashed in his eyes. His sword of slaughter suddenly rose, and he shouted, "3rd collapse, break for me." The sword in his hand emitted unprecedented gray light, extending for over 10 yards and enveloping Wang Lin's body, almost like a burning comet. With a burst of power, he surged forward. The sword's might was earth-shattering, a force so powerful it could make heaven tremble and spirits weep. The 3rd collapse's fist intent, born from the void, was cleaved open by this sword, creating a gap. Wang Lin, fused with his sword, shot forward, heading straight for the demon general. The left-wing demon general's eyes shone even brighter, and he laughed. "Good." As soon as Wang Lin charged forward, the 4th collapse arrived instantaneously. The 10 collapses fist intent increased in speed with each subsequent collapse, and the power it contained grew even stronger. At this moment, the 4th collapse was 1,000 times more powerful than the 1st collapse. Such power was beyond the reach of any ordinary infant metamorphosis cultivator. The appearance of the 4th collapse immediately caused the heavens and earth to change color. Even the vortex above the palace began to twist, seemingly unable to bear the pressure of the 4th collapse. The 4th collapse roared in, and Wang Lin's murderous state, merged with his sword, immediately collapsed. The strength of the 4th collapse, 1,000 times that of the 1st, was simply too overwhelming to withstand unless one had reached the late infant metamorphosis stage. Wang Lin's body separated from his sword, and at the same time, the force of the 4th collapse rumbled like an overwhelming tide, roaring toward him. If the 4th collapse were compared to a furious wave, then Wang Lin was a solitary boat caught in that storm. Wang Lin's complexion turned pale. His momentum was forced to halt as an immense force pressed down on him, filling him with a violent pressure. He could feel that with his current strength, he could never withstand the 4th collapse. If only the sword of slaughter technique had more gray mist, perhaps he could fight back. But over the past 4 years, the more people he killed, the harder it became to execute the slaughter immortal art. Aside from that, the Netherworld Finger might be able to break the 4th collapse, but the Netherworld Finger was Wang Lin's true trump card. In this dangerous land of demonic spirits, he was unwilling to reveal his full strength. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with determination. He loosened his right hand, and the sword of slaughter immediately transformed into 2 strands of gray mist, swiftly entering his body through his right hand. Suddenly, 2 gray runes appeared on his forehead, rapidly spreading to cover his entire body, forming 2 protective seals of life. At that moment, the 4th collapse descended upon him. The catastrophic force, a shock 1,000 times greater than the first collapse, descended upon Wang Lin. He immediately felt it clearly, the fist intent from the 4 collapses. Within the fist intent, there was a conviction. Conviction. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly lit up, a brightness rarely seen in his gaze over the past several centuries. It was as if, in the past, he had gained enlightenment when his soul burned. The power of this conviction was far beyond what Wang Lin had imagined. The moment he endured the force of the 4 collapses, his mind was also being swept by the waves of conviction within the fist intent. The 10 collapses is supposed to be the limit, but now, this 10 collapses fist intent is actually evolving toward the 11th collapse. This left-wing demon general's purpose in using the 10 collapses fist intent against me is to defeat me, absorb my thoughts, and elevate this fist intent. The reason this 10 collapses fist intent is so powerful is precisely because it carries conviction. The more people it kills or defeats, the stronger it becomes. An overwhelming sense of frustration surged within him, but just as this feeling began to surface, Wang Lin immediately crushed it down with sheer will. His body, at that moment, seemed to be thrown by an immense force, and he was sent flying, landing on the ground 1,000 feet away. As he descended, he flipped in midair, and his left hand's fingertips scraped across the earth, producing a sharp screech that lasted several breaths. Wang Lin skidded for more than 10 feet before finally stabilizing. At this moment, his entire body was nearly covered by the runes on his forehead. After withstanding the 10 collapses fist intent, these runes immediately crumbled, turning into tiny gray sparks that scattered into the air. Only half a rune remained on his forehead, slowly emitting a dim gray glow. The seal of life, forged from the Slaughter immortal art, was now only half present on Wang Lin's forehead, the rest having dissipated. With your cultivation at the mid-infant metamorphosis stage, being able to withstand the 4th collapse is already remarkable. You should retreat. The position of deputy commander is not yours to take. Even the position of commander does not belong to you. Your place is only as an elder. The left-wing demon general's gaze dimmed as he spoke calmly, not showing any disdain on his face, though his words were cutting. Wang Lin's eyes flickered with intense light. This 10 collapses fist intent represented the pinnacle of a person's spirit. For cultivators, it was the transcendence of their Tao heart, merging with the essence spirit, and evolving their essence spirit to be one with the Tao heart, leaving only one firm conviction within their body and mind. This conviction was so unshakable that it could influence everything and even change the world. This was the divine ability of conviction. The divine ability of conviction. Wang Lin slowly raised his head, gazing at the left-wing demon general from afar. His eyes were profound, as if filled with wisdom and enlightenment. Wang Lin's eyes grew brighter and brighter. He slowly raised his right hand, extending his index finger, repeating the same movement, the same prelude to the demon transformation finger. But this time, as he unleashed it, it was vastly different. His movement immediately caught the left-wing demon general's attention. The burly man raised an eyebrow, and his eyes, which had previously dimmed, instantly became bright again, this time, far brighter than before. The left-wing demon general immediately noticed something unusual, his face betraying a look of intrigue. Far away, Yao Shishue's expression changed as she stared at Wang Lin, her heart stirring with intense waves. She recalled her father's words. Her father, the blood ancestor, had paid close attention to Wang Lin. A surge of demonic aura erupted from Wang Lin's body, spreading out within 3 meters of him, forming a faint black mist. In the mist, Wang Lin's eyes gradually darkened with a sinister hue. This darkness emanated a chill, a trace of demonic nature. The divine ability of conviction. The spells I cast only have their outer form. Without the conviction contained within, they cannot unleash their true power. Wang Lin muttered to himself. He looked at his right index finger and suddenly pointed it toward the sky. Finger pointing to heaven. The vortex in the palace's void above instantly dissipated at this moment. The entire world seemed to be shrouded in a black curtain, growing dimmer, as if countless wandering souls were howling within it. Finger transforming into demon. The demonic aura surged, and Wang Lin's immortal power, at this instant, did not reverse. Yet, silently, it all transformed into demonic aura. This demonic aura was vastly different from the one formed by the reversal of immortal power. Wang Lin's hair began to grow bizarrely, and in the blink of an eye, it reached his knees. His demeanor, no longer gentle, was now filled with a violent brutality. On his forehead, a six-marked demonic rune slowly emerged. The demonic aura around his body instantly grew thick, rapidly spreading out from 3 meters to 100, with a 100-meter radius engulfed in surging demonic aura. As this aura thickened, it transformed into tiny green ghostly flames, scattering in circular patterns across the ground. Demonic aura filled every inch of Wang Lin's body and mind. At that moment, he suddenly lifted his head and let out a long howl. The howl carried an overwhelming and tyrannical aura, and within it, a maddened killing intent surged. At that very instant, a half-formed soul slaughter rune, hidden beneath 6 streaks of demonic marks on his forehead, seemed to merge with Wang Lin's current mindset. It began to wildly grow, and in the blink of an eye, it fully reformed into a complete seal of life. As soon as the seal was complete, it spread rapidly, quickly covering Wang Lin's entire body. Wang Lin took a step forward. His pace was slow, yet deliberate, as he advanced toward the left-wing demon general hovering in midair above the palace. Interesting. You are the first person to show insight beneath my 10 collapses fist intent. Let me see if you can withstand the 5th collapse. The left-wing demon general's eyes gleamed with sharp intensity, his voice deep and commanding. The 5th collapse, upon the demon general's words, descended instantly from the void. The 5th collapse possessed 10 times the power of the 4th. As soon as it appeared, the air around it was filled with thunderous roars like a heavenly tribulation. These sounds were so deafening that they reverberated across the entire ancient demon city. Wang Lin's expression darkened. At this moment, he relied on the demon transformation finger, one finger to transform into a demon. In an instant, as the 5th collapse emerged from all directions, his right index finger shot forward fiercely. With a single thrust, demonic aura surged out from his body and gathered around his finger, transforming into a blazing demonic flame. The true power of the demon transformation finger was finally revealed in Wang Lin's hand. Under the force of his finger, the flame at his fingertip expanded rapidly, creating a sea of demonic flames surrounding his body. With a single step, Wang Lin leapt into the air, his right index finger shooting forward like lightning, aiming straight for the demon general. The 5th collapse, barely after its arrival, was immediately blocked by the demonic flames. Amidst the stalemate, Wang Lin's finger surged forward. After a massive rumble, he shot right through the 5th collapse, now just 10 paces away from the demon general. Immediately after, the 6th collapse appeared. The power of the 6th collapse was beyond description. As soon as it materialized, a vast area within the 10 paces between Wang Lin and the demon general collapsed. Cracks appeared in the air, cutting across all directions in an erratic pattern. The force of the 6th collapse descended without warning. Wang Lin's expression remained dark, his eyes filled with murderous intent. He did not retract his finger. Stepping forward by a foot, the 6th collapse, resembling an invisible ring of light, condensed from the void, moving toward Wang Lin. However, at the moment it touched his finger, Wang Lin whispered softly, "Demon transformation." With these words, his index finger instantly radiated a dense black glow, which spread rapidly, enveloping his entire right arm in blackness. The spreading continued, and in the blink of an eye, the darkness expanded, covering his entire body. Just as the invisible 6th collapse light ring was about to close in, Wang Lin's form became an endless shadow. With a single step, he pierced through the light ring, and as he did, the 6th collapse shattered. The left-wing demon general's eyes flashed with intense brilliance. He bellowed, "Good outsider. I had indeed underestimated you. I will await you here, with 4 more collapses to go." Your 10 collapses fist intent relies on the belief of invincibility, a belief that has caused every person defeated by you over the past 1,000 years to falter. To break your fist intent purely through cultivation, my divine technique cannot achieve that. But the key to breaking your 10 collapses fist intent lies not in cultivation, but in belief. To break your intent, I will use my demon transformation finger. This belief, fused into the demon transformation finger, has granted it the soul of a divine technique. At this moment, it is no longer a battle of cultivation, but a battle of faith. Wang Lin said calmly, taking another step forward. The 7th collapse arrived. As the 7th collapse appeared, Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he roared, "Clear the way." The words, simple as they were, caused the impending seventh collapse to immediately disintegrate as though it were a tangible thing. Wang Lin's eyes burned with determination, and within them blazed the flame of conviction. What he held in his heart was the soul of the demon transformation finger's divine technique. Though he spoke just 2 words, they carried the weight of an unshakable belief. This belief was not of slaughter, nor of victory. It was the thought of the demon. The thought of the demon defies heaven, follows no rules, steals life force, destroys divine laws, and pursues self-pleasure. Therefore, it is called demonhood. The left-wing demon general's face finally changed. From the very first moment he laid eyes on Wang Lin, he had never taken this person seriously. But when Wang Lin broke through the 3rd collapse with a single strike, he had finally given him attention. However, his failure to break the 4th collapse was still within his expectations. He thought that Wang Lin's journey would end here. He was not the person the Demon Emperor had ordered him to find. But no matter what, he never expected that after the 4th collapse, the person before him would suddenly have an epiphany. This sudden realization immediately captured his full attention. With this epiphany, the person was able to transform a single finger into a demon. Even so, he merely took notice of it without paying it much mind. In his eyes, while such a realization was rare, at most it would allow the person to break through to the 7th collapse before reaching an impasse. However, at this moment, as the other person uttered the words of the 7th collapse, it made him truly take notice, his expression shifting in fear. He immediately understood that he had made a huge mistake from the very beginning. He had underestimated this person. In his position, nothing had ever moved him like this in thousands of years. This was the first time in millennia. The left-wing demon general's face grew serious as he turned his gaze toward Wang Lin. At this moment, the 8th collapse surged like a flood, rising from the void and merging with the heavens and earth. The power of the 8th collapse was unprecedented. It transformed from nothingness into a tangible force, as if it were a real flood, rushing toward him. Demonic aura swirled around Wang Lin, and his gaze flickered. Facing the 8th collapse, he took a single step forward. As his body met the force of the 8th collapse, the demonic flame around him instantly surged, transforming into a demonic aura that shot straight into the sky, its reach seeming to encompass all of heaven and earth. The 8th collapse did not dissipate, but at that moment, the 9th collapse silently and suddenly appeared. Wang Lin frowned slightly. Though he had been demonized and now harbored demonic thoughts, his Tao heart remained firm, unaffected by the demonization in the slightest. However, as his belief in the demon's path deepened, it was inevitable that his Tao heart would be influenced. Wang Lin understood the dangers of demonic possession very well. At this moment, the 8th and 9th collapses arrived almost simultaneously. After a quick internal calculation, Wang Lin made a decisive decision. He glanced at the left-wing demon general, and with only 3 zhang meters separating them, he sighed inwardly. Without advancing, he retreated instead. His retreat was swift, like lightning, vanishing from his original spot and reappearing 1,000 zhang away. The left-wing demon general paused, his eyes flashing as he burst into laughter. Knowing when to advance and retreat, understanding what to take and what to leave good. As he spoke, he reached out with his right hand, and with a thunderous sound, the 10 collapses fist and tent immediately dispersed, as if the heavens and earth had returned to normal in that instant. Though you haven't broken my 10 collapses, with your strength, you are worthy of the rank of commander. I, left-wing demon general Yunlihai, hereby appoint you as the commander of ancient demon city, in charge of 10,000 demon soldiers. Yunlihai said, and with a flick of his right hand, a bronze token flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he caught the token and cupped his fist in gratitude. Thank you, General. Rest in the city for now. 7 days from now, someone will take you to your assigned barracks. Yunlihai said, casting a final appreciative glance at Wang Lin before his body moved and disappeared without a trace. Having witnessed everything, Yao Shixue was about to speak as the left-wing demon general left, but Wang Lin did not even spare her a glance. He turned and walked away. Yao Shixue furrowed her brow and snorted softly, turning to leave. Wang Lin walked slowly toward the distance. With each step, his demonic thoughts gradually settled. This area was at the very center of ancient demon city, and half an hour later, bustling streets and pavilions appeared before Wang Lin. Inside and in, Wang Lin sat cross-legged in his room, quietly practicing his breathing technique. He sat like this for 4 days and nights. His hair gradually retracted, now indistinguishable from before. After entering the demonic state, although his divine techniques had increased in power and reached a formidable height, The side effects were also incredibly dangerous. Wang Lin's path was not the demonic path. Thus, after becoming demonized, his body was filled with demonic thoughts. This contradicted his Tao heart. If this continued for too long, once his Tao heart was affected by the demonic thoughts, Wang Lin knew he would be completely transformed into a demonic cultivator, losing his mind and becoming a true demon, with no sanity left. Unless he fully embraced the demonic path, like Xun'er, only then could he maintain his sanity. With Wang Lin's wisdom, he would never make that mistake. During the battle when he first demonized, his mind was constantly calculating the duration of his demonic state, how to use its power while maintaining a firm Tao heart. That was his primary concern. So, when the 8th and 9th collapses came at him, he made the decisive choice to retreat. It wasn't that he couldn't fight, but continuing would affect his Tao heart. Moreover, the reason Wang Lin chose to embrace the demonic path was partially due to his belief and understanding, but more importantly, he sought an external position. Having already revealed his strength, even without breaking through the 8th collapse, he believed that Yun Lihai would never only assign him a position as an elder. If Yun Lihai truly failed to recognize this, Wang Lin had already made up his mind. He would leave ancient Demon City and return to the barbarian wasteland to develop his own power. If necessary, he could come back in a few years and conquer ancient Demon City outright. Inside the inn, after 4 days and nights, Wang Lin finally compressed the demonic thoughts inside his body into a single point and sealed them within himself. These demonic thoughts could not be eliminated, and Wang Lin had no intention of doing so. If used properly, they could greatly enhance his power. 13 and Tiger Roar arrived at the inn a day ago, staying in a room next to Wang Lin's. They were able to find this place due to Wang Lin's call through his divine sense. After several days of meditation, on the 5th day, Wang Lin walked out of the inn, with 13 and Tiger Roar closely following behind him. As they walked along the streets of the ancient demon city, Wang Lin felt as if he had entered a different world. Everything here was vastly different from the outside cultivation world, from the architecture to the environment around him. This East Sea Demon Spirit Land is a world unto itself, and it's truly remarkable. I wonder, how exactly was this place formed? Could it really be as the rumors say, that before the immortal realm shattered, a powerful immortal emperor's outer residence created this? Wang Lin thought, somewhat in disbelief. If the rumors were true, the cultivation of such an immortal emperor was beyond imagination. To turn his own cave residence into a space as vast as an entire world was truly terrifying. Although it's just a rumor, it's said that there's no smoke without fire. If it really is the cave residence of some immortal emperor, why would there be so many local residents here if he created a world within his residence? Wang Lin walked down the street, his mind falling into deep thought. Could it be? Wang Lin's expression shifted as a bizarre thought crossed his mind. He recalled his childhood, when in his mountain village, neighbors often enclosed a plot of land with a fence and raised livestock inside. Looking at the world before him, Wang Lin lifted his gaze to the sky, and suddenly, a strange illusion rose in his heart, as if the place he was in was like the fenced land, with the local residents around him being like the livestock in those enclosures. Wang Lin shook his head with a bitter smile, silently telling himself that he was overthinking. But in his heart, that thought lingered and wouldn't go away. 13 and Tiger Roar followed behind Wang Lin. 13's expression remained cold, his eyes constantly scanning the surroundings. If anyone suspicious appeared, he would act without hesitation. As for Tiger Roar, he didn't think much about it. His gaze kept lingering on the various buildings and stalls, his eyes occasionally gleaming with interest, clearly having spotted something that caught his fancy. Wang Lin showed no interest in the sights of the ancient demon city. After wandering for 2 hours, he spotted a bustling tavern with a steady stream of people entering and leaving. Since he started cultivating, Wang Lin had gradually lost his desire for mortal food, reaching the stage of Taoist fasting. He only needed to practice breathing techniques daily to satisfy his physical needs. Food alone could no longer stir Wang Lin's interest. However, outside the tavern stood a massive wine barrel, about 3 meters in diameter and nearly 2 meters tall. Several ladders were placed around it, and some of the tavern attendants were climbing up and using large ladles to scoop out the fine wine. Upon seeing the wine barrel, Wang Lin paused in his steps and glanced up at the tavern's name. Verdant Bamboo Pavilion. On either side of the curtain at the entrance, there was a pair of couplets. Bamboo's verdant fragrance welcomes ancient guests. Green plums and chrysanthemums send off the immortal lord. Wang Lin took a few more looks with great interest. At that moment, A reception attendant at the door quickly stepped forward and smiled, saying, "Guest, our verdant bamboo wine is famous throughout the 9 counties as an immortal brew. Why not come inside and have a taste? Today's new barrel has just been opened, and the owner has said that if you can drink 10 small barrels without getting drunk, all the wine will be free. This is a rare opportunity. If I were you, I'd definitely try it." The attendant was very perceptive. Although he couldn't tell that Wang Lin was extraordinary, he could clearly see that 13 and Tiger Roar were no ordinary individuals. Their identities, evidently, were those of top-tier guards, meaning the person ahead of them must be someone of great importance. Amused by the attendant's words, Wang Lin smiled and said, "In that case, I'll try this verdant bamboo wine to see what makes it so special." With that, he entered the tavern. 13 and Tiger Roar immediately followed him inside. The tavern had an elegant atmosphere, with a moderate size. There were quite a few patrons inside, each talking and laughing joyfully. As Wang Lin and his companions entered, the reception attendant quickly walked up a few steps and shouted, "3 honored guests." As soon as his voice fell, a young waiter approached with a smile, saying, "Please, this way, honored guests. We have a table by the window available. Please follow me." The waiter led the way and, after clearing the table with a towel, indicated for Wang Lin to sit. Wang Lin sat down, and after a moment of hesitation, 13 and Tiger Roar sat opposite him upon seeing Wang Lin's nod. "What would you like to eat, honored guest?" the waiter asked with keen insight. "Bring 3 small barrels of your verdant bamboo wine," Wang Lin said warmly. "Of course." The waiter draped the towel over his shoulder and turned to leave. A short while later, he returned with 3 wine barrels and some wine cups. 13 quickly picked up the wine jar and struck it with a snap, breaking the seal. He poured a full cup for Wang Lin, but did not drink himself. Hu Pao swallowed a mouthful of saliva, noticing that 13 wasn't drinking. He hesitated, but didn't show any sign of it on his face. Wang Lin picked up the cup, took a sip, and a long-lost flavor surged in his heart. In this life, Wang Lin had only ever drunk one type of wine, the wine left by Din Yo's ancestors when he was in his mortal form on Vermilion Bird Star. In the years that followed, Din Yo often sent fine wine, gradually making Wang Lin nostalgic for it. Times have changed, but I wonder, is Vermilion Bird Star peaceful now? Din Yo, just a mere mortal, time is ruthless. He must have long since returned to the earth. His descendants should still be alive, though. Wang Lin held the cup, his eyes filled with reminiscence. Although many years had passed, the memories of what he had experienced back then had never faded. Thinking of Din Yo, Wang Lin sighed softly and finished the wine in his cup. The wine was rich and smooth, with a slight spiciness at first, but an aftertaste that lingered. It reminded him of the wine Din Yo had given him, with a striking resemblance. 13 remained silent. He could tell that Wang Lin seemed troubled, and the only thing he could do was refill Wang Lin's cup whenever it was empty. Hu Pao, after holding back for a long time, finally couldn't resist. He glanced at Wang Lin and secretly grabbed another jar of wine, quickly breaking the seal and pouring himself a cup. He drank it down in one gulp, immediately feeling more awake. He was about to pour another cup, but then he noticed 13 coldly staring at him. Hu Pao felt aggrieved, thinking to himself, why is 13 interfering? The ancestor hasn't said anything, so why does he care if I drink a bit of wine? Though he thought this, he didn't show it on his face. Wang Lin's wine kept flowing, one cup after another. The look of nostalgia in his eyes grew stronger, and the scenes from his time on Vermilion Bird Star flashed through his mind. Suddenly, he was overcome by an intense urge to leave this land of demonic spirits, to leave Destiny Star, and return to Vermilion Bird Star, to the place where he was born and raised. The impulse grew stronger, almost taking over his entire mind. The cup in his hand shattered with a loud crack, shards of glass cutting into his hand. But Wang Lin didn't seem to notice. His eyes were filled with deep reminiscence. If there had been any cultivators around to see him at this moment, they would have been shocked. Cultivators sought to keep their Dao hearts steadfast. Such impulses and prolonged nostalgia were things to avoid. 13 immediately sensed something was wrong. He suddenly looked up at Wang Lin, a trace of anxiety in his eyes. Hu Pao also realized something was off, his face changing. His concern was no less than 13's. At that moment, the sound of armor scraping echoed from outside the tavern, followed by loud shouts. Then, 7 or 8 demon soldiers clad in black armor entered the tavern. They were extremely arrogant. As soon as the waiter approached, one of them shoved him aside and barked, Bring us your best wine and food." The waiter, knocked to the ground, quickly scrambled to his feet, grinning awkwardly and nodding as he hurriedly retreated. Inside the tavern, many guests immediately settled their bills, unwilling to stay any longer. The group of armored figures quickly pushed several tables together, sitting down loudly and causing a commotion. Among them, one man sat at the head of the table. He was about 30, with a dark expression, exuding an invisible aura of authority. When the wine and food were finally served, he grabbed the wine jar, smashed the seal with a slap, and drank directly from it, finishing the entire jar in one go. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the empty jar to the side. Whether intentional or not, it landed next to Wang Lin's table with a loud crash. 13's eyes narrowed, and he turned to look. He took a deep breath, then slowly turned back without saying a word. Hu Pao frowned, but knowing that the ancestor was acting differently, he suppressed his irritation. "One more day, Commander. When that person arrives, we'll team up and give him a good first impression. Let him know who the real leader is," one of the black-armored men said, pounding his chest loudly. "Have we found out anything about him?" the dark-faced man asked, wiping the wine from the corner of his mouth. "He's an outsider, personally tested by Demon General. It's said that he didn't meet the requirements, but was granted the title of Commander as an exception," another black-armored man murmured. "Humph." The dark-faced man grabbed another wine jar and drank heavily from it. "Commander, first thing tomorrow, I'll challenge him and see what he's made of. According to our military rules, if his strength is lacking, even if Demon General himself nominated him, it'll be useless." "Exactly. Why should he come in and take the position from the commander and make this outsider the new leader? Anyone would find that unacceptable." "Enough." The dark-faced man drank another large gulp and said, "Let me see what kind of person he is. Outsider or not, every outsider has strengths and weaknesses. Those who have fallen under my command are not without precedent. If he's strong, then we'll use the extermination of immortals formation on him." As soon as he spoke, all the black-armored demon soldiers around him fell silent. The person with the gloomy expression frowned and slowly said, "Are you afraid?" At this moment, people in the tavern began to settle their bills and leave. In a short time, only 2 tables remained in the entire tavern, one with the demon soldiers and the other with Wang Lin and his companions. The cup in Wang Lin's hand had already shattered, but the nostalgia in his eyes grew even stronger. His immortal power slowly began to spread, while the demonic thoughts he had suppressed within his body gradually grew and expanded. "Ancestor," 13 called softly. The gloomy man at the demon soldier's table snorted coldly and said, "If you're afraid, get out of here." One of the demon soldiers beside him immediately said, "Commander, if the extermination formation is used internally, the Demon General will find out and there will be punishment. By then, the person will be dead, and I'll return to my original position. Even if there's punishment, I'll bear it myself. It's none of your business." The gloomy man downed the entire jar of wine and then tossed it aside. This time, he threw the wine jar directly toward Wang Lin's table. The speed was so fast that in the blink of an eye, it was already falling. 13's eyes sharpened, and with one hand, he caught the jar. At the same time, his expression changed, and his body involuntarily retreated. His chair collapsed into pieces on the spot. 13 took several steps back, forcing himself to swallow the blood in his mouth and steady himself. "Get lost. I'm in a bad mood today, and you 3 are the only ones in this hall who don't know your place." The gloomy man immediately shouted. Tiger Roar's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at the demon soldiers at the other table. He could feel powerful demon energy radiating from these people. He believed he could defeat one of them, but taking on 2 would be a struggle, especially the one who threw the wine jar. This person's demon power was already at a level of restraint, and the moment their eyes met, Tiger Roar felt a sharp pain in his mind, causing him to quickly avert his gaze. 13 took a deep breath, put down the wine jar, and moved to Wang Lin's side, whispering, "Ancestor." Wang Lin, however, remained unmoving, sitting silently. Since entering the tavern, the gloomy man had been observing Wang Lin in secret. To him, Wang Lin seemed strange, as if 2 opposing forces were battling inside him. The first wine jar had been a test, and the second one was far more intentional. The demon soldiers around him saw that Wang Lin and his companions had yet to leave and immediately began to grow dissatisfied. One of the black-armored demon soldiers stood up and shouted, looking for death. He strode over and pushed Wang Lin aside. 13's eyes flashed with coldness as he immediately threw a punch without hesitation. The demon soldier reacted quickly, letting out a soft, transforming his hand into a fist. As his demon power surged, a faint ghostly light appeared on his fist, transforming into a tiger that merged with his punch, striking 13 head-on. A muffled sound rang out as the demon soldier spat blood from his mouth, his body thrown backward by a powerful force, crashing into a table several yards away, collapsing it entirely. He fell to the ground, blood gushing from his mouth. 13 staggered back a few steps, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He had already been injured when he caught the wine jar earlier, and now, forcibly exerting his physical strength, his wounds worsened, leaving his right fist numb. His body refining art was incomplete, and as a result, its power was insufficient. Tiger Roar saw 13 take action and immediately summoned several small flags from his sleeve. As he waved them, gusts of eerie wind began to howl around him. The demon soldiers, seeing one of their own injured, immediately rose, their eyes flashing with killing intent. Having spent years on the battlefield, their murderous aura only intensified when released. Only the gloomy man remained seated, his gaze fixed on Wang Lin. Barbarian wastelanders daring to cause trouble in the ancient demon city. One of the demon soldiers sneered, their body moving like a fierce tiger, charging forward. 6 demon soldiers moved simultaneously. Tiger Roar's heart sank, and with a flick of his soul banner, countless souls howled as they surged out, filling the tavern. 13's body flashed, blending into the sea of souls and engaging in battle. Demon art, brothers, let demon power break the divine. One of the demon soldiers shouted. The 6 demon soldiers were extremely proficient, immediately unleashing their demon power. 6 powerful surges of demon energy, like raging dragons, erupted inside the tavern. Each of these energies had the strength of at least 30 armored soldiers, and they overwhelmed the souls inside the tavern, pushing them back. 13's face turned pale, and Tiger Roar's heart sank. The two exchanged a glance, both seeing the determination in each other's eyes. Even if they were to die, they would protect the ancestors' safety. At this moment, Tiger Roar suddenly found that 13 wasn't so annoying after all. The commander, who had been sitting in his chair with a gloomy expression, suddenly changed his face. He abruptly stood up and shouted, "Revoke the demon power." Now. As soon as his voice fell, the 6 streams of demon power that had been spreading throughout the tavern suddenly lost control. In the bewildered eyes of the 6 demon soldiers, the 6 streams of demon power violently surged towards Wang Lin, who had remained seated all this time. They rushed towards his forehead and directly entered Wang Lin's body. In that instant, the nostalgic look in Wang Lin's eyes vanished. He exhaled deeply, and a clear expression appeared in his eyes. What a powerful demonic thought! A look of astonishment flashed in Wang Lin's eyes.